All right.
Maybe it's a little, I wouldn't say a little later, but like, um, there's a small Sunday service happening outside in the parking lot, which is across the street from the Spanish church. And now I believe they're cleaning up. They were praying throughout the rain, which, you know, you know how I feel about rain. Anyway, but yeah, it's been raining often, right? And it's chill. And I legit posted today to my TikTok um, because I am wearing this one shirt, which, I mean, looking at it by itself without the hood, quote unquote hood, up, it's one of those really long scarf neck things or cowls. Like, think Dune. That's what, I don't know. When I look at it, it's like Dune. I don't know. I've never watched Dune. Either one. But yeah, this I have it pinned to my hair using one of my hair pins, and then I did a little bit on my lips, did a little lippy, and I also threw on my sunglasses, my coolest ones, and took some pictures. And I was just like, this is just too cute. But anyway, I don't have much water because I drink less water when it's not as hot outside. Um, and my favorite thing during the summer is a nice glass of ice cold water. But like the end of this week is rainy, highest in the 70s, which you don't really feel because of rain. That is to say that doing my walk through the garden, me working up a sweat, but like, I guess that's what I'm wearing. And it also doesn't mean that I'm going to be wearing more clothes than usual to bed. Guess that's a lesson learned. Play with fire, then you'll probably burn. Yeah, I had, I did have a dream today. I just can't really remember it. Like I can, but like in a way that I can't explain because the details aren't clear enough for me to be able to describe it. Because like literally how I described it to my phone um, was the first dream because I woke up in between. Um, I also fell asleep at like 9:10 about, so like I actually got in quite some hours. Um, but yeah, first part of the dream, it won't. What else can I say besides like Android? I think iRobot, kind of Android, um, and not Detroit Become Human. uh, Zombie apocalypse, and that is the first room, right? I don't. Why are you playing my slow songs? So we're playing my slow shit. I don't want slow shit. So the thing about Sundays is I don't really talk much. Um, I don't really talk much on Sundays. Because first of all, not a lot on my mind. But second of all, Sundays are when I tend to like dance before the Lord. Actually, I should probably let this hose down because I'm already starting to get hot. And this is a long sleeve, even though it's like polyester, nylon, and rayon, which I understand. Like the fashion industry is destroying the earth. So it's cows and agriculture, but like that's besides the point. Um, all right. What's it talking about? Oh, like for me, the fabric feel I don't really care about. Well, there are some fabrics where I'm like I do care, but as long as they aren't itchy, I will wear them. So like I will not wear things with sequins on them. Don't don't like sequins. Um, but yeah, I don't know why all this anti-polyester in the fashion industry is so big. And my assumption is because of like how ethical it's being made. That's how ethical it's being made and its effect on the world. Those are the things that I am assuming. Right. But if it's just because you don't like the feel of it, I don't know. What to tell you. And yeah, some things look cheaply made, but you can also make a cheaply made fabric look not bad. actually have this down. Yeah. Hold on. There we go. This this playlist isn't, well, it's not really a playlist, but this doesn't work for me either. When in doubt, go to your holy playlist. Cause 'tis Sunday. God, God is here. If I only know everything that is Lord, His voice is some portion. Forget all He's done. Strength and mercy, God, God's faithfulness, miraculous. Get myself, I can sit here and be still. Think it's in store. You say when you call on Jesus' name. I know God is the one that picked me up. I know Christ is the strength in the field of God. The religion of the revolution. Me and every woman. I'm addiction. Set them up. Demons. This my dream. This my wife. This my life. This my God-given right. So God is. So God is. That's what God is. And would you notice that I no longer have a headache? The other song was starting to give me a headache, what I was listening to. And I also have already had a headache because I believe I was tensing my jaw, which is part of the reason why I was just like, oh, I need to record soon because, first of all, I'm hungry. And that's probably part of the reason why I've been hungry since like 7. I woke up at 5. But either way, That also contributes to me sucking my tongue, which is a thing I used to do a lot when I was a kid. Um, I would just tense it against the roof of my mouth. Um, and I still do that quite a bit whenever I'm concentrating. But yeah, that does contribute to me getting headaches. Only over, never right. Feels like I've been told. They stay moaning. Feel like this is I. So the star to see, defy, to rely on. To see, defy, never see what be. Just what you are. Letting it go from the edge of the reaper. So, to the world you see, I'm not what I'm supposed to be. Oh, 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 oh. See, I know it was brought up. Was it last week or the week before? But the theme of free will. Because I feel like in the frames of what I had explained, I know that it can't be clear because to me, it's difficult for scientifically proven. Not necessarily calling myself a genius, but it is frequently seen that geniuses, it's really hard for them to explain simple thinkings to other people, like things in simple concepts, because it is something that it is innately understood for them. Like, oh, that is just common sense to them, right? Very well. And this is something that I have not necessarily always understood, but something that I had always questioned in a way, but not necessarily question of like, oh, do I have free will? It was more of the opposite of like, why can't I do these things, right? Being raised Christian Nigerian household, with a mother who is a Karen. And both parents use that to shame you. When you question why, and all people respond is it's in the Bible. Then I say, where in the Bible? Because as a child, my father had us reading through the entire Bible. We left the church before we could reach the ending. And also, like, I feel like he felt that we were leaving. So he skipped to Revelation, and we started reading Revelations. I don't remember a single thing. I'm gonna speak with you truthfully. And my Bible was beat up as a kid. Its pages were, the cover was falling off. Its pages were falling out. Um, I would highlight and underline things in pen in my Bible, right? And I have a Bible cover or anything. And it's funny because shadows in your head, I got you down again. Got me. It's funny because I think it was me and my other sister who had white Bibles. My Bible was white. Where did all medals now? Wipe your tears. The sun is already set. Now, won't you go to sleep now? See you in your dreams. Cause I'm right here. Darling, I'm right here. Close your pretty eyes, my butterfly, baby, have no fear. This future's looking bleak. Your will to live is weak, but honey, hold on to me. I know that you're an angel, but it's not your time to fly now. We need you here. Stay right here. I'll stay here with you, my dear. Look up to the sky and shout, I am still alive because you want me to be. Anyway, free will. I said, in everything you do, there was a choice, right? Actively. There's always a choice in everything you do, right? So when someone tells you that you cannot do something, always ask why. Because I did. And I'm one of those people who is really annoying when it comes to hypotheticals. Because when you pose a hypothetical, you have to build out the world in which those two options, like logistically, would work out. Like, or even the gun to your head. You could either do this or this, but you have to choose one. I don't. That's the thing about free will. You don't have to choose either of them. Because that in itself is a choice. I feel like it is actually also kind of displayed in not well, but like nope. What is it? 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 Uh the company that made the Walking Dead games with Clementine. I forget what they're called. Talkie Dog, something like that. um, Lives on Southern Gotham. I'm the one that still loves your ghost. I reanimate your bones with my belief. And I'm the one that still loves your ghost. I reanimate your bones, 'cause I'm a true believer. Chain link fences underneath the biggest bridges. Guns as big as all the children. Jesus is the way, but then they gave him a white face. Have to pray to someone they deem lesser than them. The South will not rise again till it's paid for every sin. Same true hard bargain till the roots Southern Gotham. I'm the one that still loves your ghost. I reanimate your bones with my belief. And I'm the one that still loves your ghost. I reanimate your bones, 'cause I'm a true believer. And I'm the one that still loves your ghost. I reanimate your bones with my belief. And I'm the one that still loves your ghost. I reanimate your bones, 'cause I'm a true believer. Well, either way, not choosing an option. Oh, and also inside the same people who did the anthology, like the makers behind The Quarry, Until Dawn, and Man of Medan, those games, right? Not choosing is also an option. The thing about free will is even when someone else poses you two options, you still have options outside of that. Why? Because no other person can control your options. They can control their reaction to it. Sure, gun to your head, you have to do this or this. I choose neither. Shoot me. And they have a choice. They could shoot you, or they could not. Right? And every single thing. procrastination is technically a choice. Not technically, it is a choice. Because putting off something, sure, it delays it, but it is also a choice. Your choice is to delay. Because in the moment, dealing with that thing is causing you stress, right? And you have multiple choices in how to deal with stress. You could actually tackle it head on. You could put it on, or you could put it off. You could take a pause and deal with it when you're in a better headspace. You better keep your way down. You better keep your way down. They're gonna tell you what you wanna hear, then they're gonna disappear. Gonna play me like a souvenir just to show you. Now, yeah, you better keep your head down. No. Keep your head down. Keep your head down. Keep your head down. That's good. And then with arguments against how free will exists, right? Especially when you incorporate, there is this all-knowing, omniscient, all-seeing God judging every single one of my actions. First of all, not judging, viewing, viewing every single one of your actions. But consequence comes into the equation, right? And then because of how Christianity is taught, where it doesn't explain things well enough to not scare people, because that is the tactic, to scare people into submission. Because there are ways of, quote unquote, controlling people, right? And keeping people sated in where they are, right? You can either do it by fear and have people, quote unquote, respect you. It's not respect. Or you can give in to their needs. And the thing is about giving in is that giving into someone's needs isn't giving in. You're just giving them what they require for life, right? Another sun, another sun, sent from above, sent from above, and you must have been sent from above. Ooh, my best control has gotten better. Sent from above. I mean, granted, I'm not like walking the fastest, but like still. I was so confused. Nothing left to lose until I saw the sent from above, sent from above. Another sound, another sound, another sound, another sound. I was so confused. Nothing left to lose until I saw a sign sent from above. Sent from above. Yeah, arguments against it. Like, especially when they are told this God controls everything. He sees everything. All of your choices he sees, right? He puts you through all these challenges, right? Which then imparts responsibility to God for all your choices. When you tell that to a child, they're like, oh, then everything I do, if it's all predetermined, then why do anything, right? Then I have no free will. If everything is predetermined, if my end is already predetermined. And then there are these concepts like destiny, right? You're destined to be great. Which destiny comes from predestined, right? Predetermined. And it feels like every choice that you make, you didn't have a choice in when it's explained like that. But instead of seeing it that way, think of it like this. And this is where like poets come in and philosophers. I stretch my hand to thee. One of the arguments that I had was that God can't directly intervene in people's lives. Or at least I said God can't intervene because of our human right of free will. Lord, my Lord. But if you think of it like this, your life is the journey. And this is a common. It is the journey. It's about the journey, not the destination. While your end is already known, secured, who you are in your soul is already determined before you're even in the body. But your soul wasn't determined by God. Soul was determined by you. And every step that you take in your life is all you. You showing off who you are, who your soul is, your soul's expression in a human body. To say because God can see the end of your life, that He is controlling everything, takes away agency from yourself. And then you're getting mad, having conversations about free will, when you are confusing your own agency and what God is doing. In one of the comments, I said that God cannot intervene in our lives unless we ask to do so. Right. I got a comment, I read it to y'all weeks ago, saying that they didn't like that when people say, not necessarily just me, but he did say y'all, and I don't know who y'all he's referring to, but I guess just the people who say that God can't intervene, because I'm not a Christian. Power I can save this world, yeah. Oh, the only power can save this world. I need to take my medication today. Yep. My medication, what I mean is iron. In case some of y'all think I'm on like antipsychotics or anything, literally just iron. um, what was I on about? Right. Because there are times, because there have been shown times where God does intervene, right? Then they brought up, I asked where, right? Because I would like to know where. I don't necessarily go. And this is what led me to me talking to y'all about Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Because Sodom and Gomorrah was one of the stories, the first story that he brought up, where it was talking about God's anger, and how he had rained down fire and sulfur. And my immediate thought was, okay, but we could explain that. We could explain what raining down fire and sulfur is. It's a volcanic eruption. And then, Uzzah in Noah's Ark, and how touching the ark he was struck. God, the Lord, has struck him, right? I was thinking, wow, struck. What does that go with, right? And yes, you could think whips, because when thinking, you think of the things associated with the word struck. When someone is struck, they're hit, right? That is one of the words that you think of. They're hit. It comes with like belts, whips, because they make that whoosh sound. But that whoosh sound is replicating what? Lightning. When people are describing lightning, they say it struck. They were struck by lightning. Right. Now, another natural thing, natural disaster. That could be explained through terminology that they didn't have back then. You got to remember those things when dealing with the Bible. If you're going to take it as historical fact, which you shouldn't, it is mythology, then you have to realize that the words that were used back then in translations aren't going to be as up to date or as clear as we have it now. One person's trying to say that, oh, it wasn't said that it was a volcanic eruption. His wife was turned into basalt. She turned into a pillar of salt when she turned back. She turned to basalt. It wasn't the salt that we all know, right? Again, think of Pompeii. All those people who were encased in magma, in the ash of the whole thing that happened, right? The whole tragedy of Mount Vesuvius, was it? All those bodies are basalt. We literally had history repeat because history always repeats. It's a cycle, which is why every year a cycle breaker must be born, and that is evolution. You can't take some things from the Bible and interpret it through a modern day lens because gay identity was not was not in the Bible, but being a child predator was. Why was that one erased? Who knows? Something in the salty air to make me love you anymore. She say, I just spare you. I know I can go anywhere with you. I might as well fling myself into your ocean at least, then I would be with you. In the ocean road, in the ocean house, in the ocean road, in the ocean house. So you wanna have your time to fly below you. See there, tears on the ocean, in the ocean road, in the ocean house, in the ocean road, in the ocean house. The ocean roar, and the ocean howl, and the ocean roar. ocean high, in the ocean roar, in the ocean high, in the ocean roar, in the ocean high. You also got to remember historians, people who record history, writers, they are a part of the liberal arts. They're artists. No matter what, if they are recounting a story, they're going to embellish some, but above all, they're going to be poetic in their writing. Sweet dream, let me lay you down. Hold your breath, don't make a sound. Can you sleep? I've been getting pretty good at counting sheep. I am the very specimen of a sleepwalking gentleman. If I die before I wake, save my dream for another day. Tonight, I got nothing on my mind but you. Somewhere, somehow, you'll feel it too. Ooh, don't you take a bow at the last curtain call. Thinking you're nobody's nothing after all. Something after all. Sweet dream, let me lay you down. Hope your feet don't touch the ground. Getting late, why can't I sleep? I've been getting pretty good at counting sheep. I am the very specimen, never sleepwalking gentleman. If I die before I wake, save my dream for another day. 'Cause tonight, I got nothing on my mind but you. Somewhere, somehow, you'll feel it too. Ooh, don't you take a bow at the last curtain call. Thinking you're nobody, nothing after all. Nothing after all. You're somebody's something after all. Something after all. to know I got nothing on my mind but you. Somewhere, somehow, you'll feel it too. Ooh, don't you take it back, the last curtain call. Thinking you're nobody's nothing after all. So, back to the free will talk. We kind of went back and forth a little bit, where I was like, okay, but those aren't those aren't examples of God physically coming down and intervening in someone's life. Because first one was a natural disaster. It was a volcanic eruption. He didn't go to every single one of those people. I mean, he sent his angels to go and see who among him would listen, right? But he didn't physically go down and tell all those people he was very angry and was going to kill them using a volcano. He didn't say that, right? Because he couldn't. He couldn't go down. He couldn't warn them that he was going to explode, right? And I had said, basically in every single one of my responses, that he could only talk to those who could hear him. When he sent his angels, he sent it to the people who could hear him. A lot in his life. In Uzzah's case, yeah, sure, he struck him with what I'm assuming is lightning, because he is a god of storms. That was one, him using his power, and two, a consequence. He said, don't touch it, you're gonna get hurt. He does what? Because he has free will, touches it. He got hurt. Consequences of the action. Because if he didn't get hurt, then that would be like making God to be a liar. And this, I know I did speak upon it, right? In a previous thing, probably in the previous sermon, right? But I do want to drive this point home, because everyone's go-to is, why didn't God help? During slavery times. You know, it was years of slavery. And then it's like, my question is, because a lot of the people who pose this are, you know, people who have left the faith, you know, and now questioning everything, right? How did God deal with slavery before, when he wanted to free his people? He sent Moses. People had to wait for Moses to be born. And even then, they still weren't out of the trial, because he had to guide Moses in order to take care of all those people, because they couldn't hear him. He heard their prayers for freedom, right? They were prisoners of war. That's what originally slavery was, right? Prisoners of war. And you can say, oh, because it's recorded. And people are still alive who can recount these events and things are still happening, right? That, you know, the enslavement of black people was worse. You can't say that, right? And this is where Israel gets, sorry, I put it in quotation marks because they're occupying Palestine. And I honestly, truthfully speaking, do not believe that they are Israelites. um, first of all, if Israelites, why white? Personally, I just don't believe that's true. Anyway, and second of all, if Israelites, why doing genocide? Uh-huh. Who was it? Was it Joshua who had to keep his arms up during the war? Shove you coming from within. Need to be torn just to see who will care. Sleep enough so dreaming my life away. Do we have to die? Or us to see the light? Do we hunger for love? Why do we touch the night when we long to feel alive? When we hunger for love. Come on over, take a bite of the last apple here on earth. Will revenge from mine become stronger than mine? And when the eagle dies, will I stay here forever? When the wave crashes down, will my life be better? Why do we have to die for us to see the light? Then we hunger for love. Why do we touch the night when we long to feel alive? Then we hunger for love. Make me, break me, just in the enemy, gotta deal with the devil. But I got the stamina higher than anything I've ever seen or been right now. Everything's empty, starving, craving, chasing the remedy. I got used to the torture. Nobody's stopping me, loving, breaking. So I got the stamina. Why do we have to die? But yeah, basically. Because I also made this connection ways back. And I was going to start getting into it when I was writing the essay, but I was just like, nah, this is too much for me to write. And I might lose people. I might lose track of like what the original point I was trying to get across was. I think it was a little bit after I brought up Abraham Lincoln, who, you know, people want to discredit the fact that he still did something, you know, even, but like I also understand, still understand the fact that it doesn't necessarily mean that he like was for black people, right? Even though they use Abraham Lincoln. That's what I said inside my essay, my thought piece, right? that they use Abraham Lincoln as a way, as a fact that Black people have gotten it right. That it's just complaints, right? Sorry. Let me just skirt back real quick. Going back to Moses bringing the Israelites out of Egypt, right? Um, sorry, we don't know. We do not know how slavery was back then. But we do know that Moses was not supposed to be alive because of the laws that they had on them. Meaning there was probably something about breeding. Breeding camps were a thing during slavery times. Thank y'all, my. All we know is what was recorded. And what was recorded kind of started with Moses talking about his family situation, right? Squabble up, squabble up, squabble up, squabble up. Hold up. Where are you from? Sideways. Up. Fever. But yeah. Now, a comparison. I don't know whether Harriet Tubman was necessarily a Christian, but, and again, I brought this up before, but she did what she can to lead people out of slavery, like Moses did. And I know for a fact, not everybody went with Moses. Listening to him, especially someone who was so favored by the Pharaoh and his daughter, there were obviously people who stayed subjugated. And the same is true with American slavery, right? People still have that same slavery mindset. If they just keep their head down and abide by the rules, then they could survive. Not live, survive. Can you? I mean, honestly, as I said, cycles, right? History repeats. Harriet Tubman was America's Moses. And God protected. They would travel on days on which the heavy rain could erase their tracks, disguise them. There were places that they were led and paths that Harriet knew to take. And honestly, I would say the fact that she had done it so many times, saved so many people, yes, could be said thank you to God. But I would say thank you to Hecate, because that is her niche. She is, and this is, uh, was it in Father I Stretch My Hands? My light in darkness, right? Christianity is monotheistic. I am not. I believe as long as someone is mentioned to be a god and people had believed they were a god, they exist as such. If it is known, it is true. As long as it is brought out into the world as a thought, it exists. Ooh, there we go. That was something that I had touched upon about one of my stories, and then I got taken off track because I was just like, oh, the age gap. But like, stretch my hands to. But what was I saying? There we go. That was something I had gone in because I was just like, because I was bringing up a point of like why her character was being so. How, she was young. Of course, you're gonna get confused when someone says, "I need you," right? Like, no, you are, because this is again how their relationship started in a way is because like he basically said that she was his life purpose, which did go kind of hand in hand. He was studying their world, right? Just wanted to reach the secrets, like trying to understand everything in the universe. That is what he saw as his life purpose. Like he just wanted to get to the root of it. And here comes freaking Anomaly coming from a worm that had freaking time and space warp, and she could control time dilation, right? So it's just like you, and also like from what she said, like the information that she gives, like she is assumed to be someone from the past in my head canon, which is canon, right? But like nobody knows that it's canon, right? She actually isn't from their world, but a world that is very similar, adjacent to it, and years before. So like even so she can't even like really track it, and her blood doesn't exist. Because it's also like a future society that this takes place in. A future society in an environment in her setup that she was already seeing signs in her own life of, right? Because they are elemental users, right? Like everybody is born with an elemental affinity. It is genetic. And in her time, It was that at a certain age, kind of like My Hero Academia, at a certain age, you will they will hit and their elemental affinity would be known, right? Sometimes it was determined by the parent, right? But while she was inside the worm, there were these places in space that existed. And because she had a connection to the worm, was in the worm, she remembers these spaces. And again, I said this probably when I was describing this story, but um, I was talking this, I relay information to chat. And when I relayed the information that uh, about because she remembers the space, right, has been there, like it still exists. And then I started to have some pushback on it, and I was just like, nah. Because I had said something along the lines of, if you think about it, it exists. And I wanted clarity on that because like that didn't make sense to it, right? And I was just like, no, I meant exactly what I said. As long as you think it exists, it would take. And if it isn't thought about, it ceases to exist, right? And that was what was pushing back on the if it isn't thought about, then it ceases to exist. You know, you would think object permanence and stuff like that. Oh, when you're not looking at it, it doesn't exist, right? But the thing is, I'm not talking about looking at it, I'm talking about thinking of it. Everything in my room exists because I can think of them. I know they exist. I'm not actively thinking about it, but as my eyes process it, it is still thinking about it. My brain is still thinking about it. My body is still conscious of it. As long as you think, it exists. If you do not think, and if no one is there to think about it, it still exists. Think back to the saying, and this was also brought up because of the Mikara Tira's video, her wedding video. But she brought up the saying, if a tree falls in a forest and there's no one around to hear it, does it still make a sound? You know, because sound is perception of other people. I would say yes, because everything else around it is perceiving it. If a tree falls in the forest, then you're thinking about it. You're imagining this hypothetical. It still makes a sound because sound waves are waves. It will disturb the waves around it. Something will exist until the last person who thinks of it ceases to exist. If they pass on that knowledge, then even those people know a version of it. It will change, but it won't go away. I forgot why I was talking about that. As in, I forgot why I brought up the story that in which I was talking about it. Oh, because gods, right? Yes, stories. As long as there are stories. And again, I think Fantasy High Season 2 did a great job of this. Shout out Brennan Lee Mulligan. He really is a storyteller. He really is a historian and a fantastic mind. I respect the hell out of him, man. But in The Nightmare King, where they had pushed this rhetoric of, erasing the moon goddess's name or the night goddess's name and turning it into the Nightmare King. And therefore, the Nightmare King existed. She became the Nightmare King because that's all that people knew her as. It wasn't until everybody started breaking down and figuring out about her actual story that she was able to come back. And even then, she didn't even know what she wanted to be because she was so young when her story was erased. Right? And also shout out to Allie Beardsley because I was all done through Allie's character and Allie and what was her name? Applebee's. Allie's character. Did I say she? Did I say she? I didn't mean to misgender. If I did. But because like their character, Kristen, was it Kristen Applebee's? You could heavy with the allegory, right? Of Christianity and working out your faith. Because the fact that she denounced her own God and was brought to him face to face with him. A champion, right? But that is to say, if you think about that, because that was honestly one of the things that radicalized me. Not gonna lie. But it definitely did help. Because who's to say that isn't how it works? Who's to say? I had this dream once, right? I was in a D&D group, kind of. I wasn't actually playing D&D, but like I have had dreams where I play D&D. That's a whole different story though. But I had this dream where I was an artificer. And I couldn't necessarily fly. I had a specific thing I had made that was like a techno skateboard type thing. Anyway, we were to investigate this mysterious forest and stuff like that. And I had kind of led the party in a way. Also, let me just say there was so there was me. I was a guy, by the way. I do have dreams where in which I am male, right? So there was a giant or yeoman. and like this elf rogue, and then from the same place, elf like healer, cleric, and I was the artificer, right? I was the group's cartographer as well. So like charting places. Either way, we had gone to investigate this place. It was forest, and we had happened upon a dilapidated temple. Is the best way to describe it. It was a temple. We went inside to investigate because Dungeons and Dragons. We go into dungeons, right? It was covered in vines. And yet, when we stepped inside, the place was immaculate. It was a bathhouse, simple bathhouse, right? And I was walking through. There were also like different areas. There was like a library in there too, but you couldn't see outside from within it. And once it brought you in, it trapped you in there. It gave us the illusion of it being this beautiful, pristine bathhouse, right? And it wasn't until I noticed that there were people milling about that I was just like, this is suspicious, right? Running into skeletons and seeing the vines starting to poke through. This is incredibly suspicious, but I couldn't leave. All the rest of my people, all the rest of the party that was with me, never even saw the illusion. Or if they did, it was for a split second. But I was entranced. And I could hear all these multitudes of voices. One of them that was telling me to stay, and another one that was begging me to help. And I kept walking. I walked away from my party, and my party was trying to leave this place, but the magic that was encapsulating this place made it very hard to do, and they didn't want to leave me behind. And I was like walking even deeper to where the corruption was stemming from, and I was getting like these visions of a goddess who was trapped by these thorns, crying. They weren't touching her, right? But they were all around her. Something she couldn't escape. And I was also hearing, like inside the Fantasy High season 2, all these stories about her being a corrupt goddess. And my party members finally got me to snap out of it enough to pull me out and find like the exit before we were all trapped in. And yet, even I was being pulled away, I was just like, I have to go back. I have to go back. I have to save her. Like, that is our jobs. We have to save them, right? And all I was getting were all these visions of how the goddess was, right? Even while they were telling me the story of who, because the elves knew who the goddess was once they saw like the depictions of her face, right? Even though cracked and stuff, they knew exactly what it was. Oh, this is where her followers used to worship, and it's evil. That's why it's like this, right? Because she was a cast out goddess from the elves. And so I was still in the mindset of I need to save her, right? And out of that, and around the time of the dream I will get back to it, but around the time of the dream that I had, a little bit afterwards, I had gotten repeated messaging of, you can't save everyone. but I couldn't let it go. And not let it go. Um, but in the dream, because I didn't want to let it go, I geared up my staff weapon that I used for my transport. I would surf on it, right? I was getting on, and the Jotun and the Rogue were like, if you're going to go back, we will have to fight you. We will have to fight you. I ended up accidentally killing the Rogue. Um, but the Jotun, who was a paladin, he taught me. Anyway, basically, why I brought up that story is because in that time, when I was seeing it, I was seeing how they were bastardizing her story, painting her out to be the corruption that was working on her, right? And yes, the corruption was a part of her, but it was because of the people pushing this identity onto her that it was corrupting her. And with that dream, again, I bring up the question, why wouldn't it work that way? Why couldn't it work that way? If you say something, even in our own cases, if we say something enough, we start to believe it about ourselves. If you tell yourself every day that you're ugly, you start to believe you're ugly. If you tell yourself every day that you're gorgeous, you start to reflect it, right? Things around you changes based off the words that you say, based off the thoughts that you think. Why wouldn't it be the same for the gods that you speak of? When I finally realized what my purpose was, which was fairly recent, a couple months ago, honestly, basically when I started saying, I am his daughter. I am the second coming of Christ. Because Christ is a family name. Crest. I mean, I didn't include this. Maybe I did. I probably mentioned this somewhere. I was not planned. I wasn't. Funnily enough, I say that reincarnated by Ken Chick explain. I am. Because, what was I saying actually? I said something along the lines of it's why around the time when I started saying I was the daughter of God, right? Oh, rewriting stories, right? To change people's perception, right? God is what you say he is. He is exactly what you say he is. So if you keep on saying he is this evil, vengeful God, he will be forced. His hand will be forced in order to do that, right? But if you keep saying like preaching, he believes in forgiveness, right? He believes in people being redeemed. Those things are still true. Correct message, wrong messenger, right? Because the people who say he is all about forgiveness are the same people that push that push others to say he is evil and vengeful. And that's what I'm trying to rewrite. I'm reclaiming my father's name from those bastards. I'm not Christian. Sorry, not only my father's name, I'm taking my brother's name too. Bastardize his name too. Using it to deflect and continue your life rife with sin while believing you're above others. And how do I reclaim that? By doing what I'm doing. I'm telling y'all my philosophies. And all I can do is give glory to God. Because I wouldn't have been here without my spiritual mother and father. What kept me going? Because I was a sad child, as I said, and literally broke down after saying, I was a sad child. Very sad. Misunderstood. I had the only thing that kept me going was the knowledge that God saw everything. Because that meant that even though others did not see me, or I was hiding from others, there was still someone there who saw my heart. And I pushed everyone away. I did. Because I was afraid of getting hurt. And I got mad at him. I did. I'm not saying that I didn't. There was a period of time where I stopped talking to him. And that was the darkest time of my life. Because for once, I felt actually alone. And that time in my life was the pandemic and going to college. What I deem the Grand Awakening 2020. Because what? 2020 vision. Bitch, it's fucking August. Why is Staples putting out fucking Christmas sounding ads? The fuck? But yeah, that is my job. What if that is a job I have taken upon myself? To rewrite the story as it is written. And once again, I gotta be like, shout out to HSR because like that whole Emphorius arc also helped me so immensely. Even the short story of the Dahlia, introducing the Dahlia as a character afterwards, where it's just like, oh yeah, actually, the story of what happened inside Penacony is a little bit different because if you had known this before you went to Emphorius, you would not have been okay. And then you go back and learn that Firefly died there. She died before seeing the fireworks. And she has to forget that. Sorry, I play Estelle, so I use she for us. She has to forget that. So that her ways of doing things weren't affected in Emphorius. And she saved that place by just being herself. Being herself, being a part of the story. Being an anomaly. Right. Because that was the remembrance gift that she was given to rewrite the story. If anything, well, Dan Heng records the information of the Express's like journeys and stuff, and the information that he picks up. Stell is the historian because she's living through these events. But with living these events, the after, right? The after the story that created this, right? And I feel like that has always been my purpose, my journey, being the person who is in the story. A wild card. Because while people say, oh, there's a second coming of Christ, they're thinking, oh, Jesus is coming back. Looking for a man who makes himself known, right? Says, I am Jesus. First of all, why would you, why, even if it was him, why would he do that? I mean, I'm saying, oh, I'm the daughter of Christ, but like, if Jesus is well known, and if you were to actually look at how his personality is in the Bible, he wouldn't be that nigga. He wouldn't. He wouldn't be the one who's going front page. Yep. He was an introvert. The fact that he had 12 people following him, not all of them were his friends. He had 12 disciples, not all of them were his friends. Close knit friend group, okay? Ooh, that was it. Wow, going all the way to the beginning. That was the third way of intervention, right? Because I also felt like he was going to, which is why I said without the stipulation of like God sending someone on his behalf. And yet he still brought up Jesus. And I was like, okay, but I said without someone acting on as his mouthpiece. Jesus was his mouthpiece. Yes, they are independent. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. If you think about it, trifecta, right? And trying to also, because I'm like thinking about it, also trying to discredit me because of like, oh, Christians believe that Jesus is God. If you don't believe in the Trinity, then we're arguing something else. And I was just like, first of all, no one brought up the Trinity. Second of all, I fully believe in the Trinity. I do. I've told you many times how I find the number 3 important. I have 2 other sisters spiritually. I mean, literally, I do have 2 other sisters. The 3s have been very prevalent in my life. 3. I am. That is my, I wouldn't say it's my life number, my life path number. But 3s and 7s, incredibly important. Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. And again, I had to go back and be like, translations do not actually translate into modern times. We also don't know whether Christians back then were monotheistic. All it says in the Bible is that don't serve a God higher than me. Meaning, other gods do still exist. So saying that Jesus is God means Jesus is a God. What do you think when they say Son of God? Do you not know what demigods are? I feel like that's self-explanatory. Even if you are Christian and only believe in one God, right? But if that is God's Son, then that is still Godhood. He's still a God. Anyway. I've been walking for so long. My legs hurt. They do. Ooh. And I'm hella sweaty. And I don't have that much water. Almost 2 hours. You know, one thing is that I wouldn't say that these are necessarily hard for me to do, right? Because as you could see, I could go off for 2 hours. But I would love some interaction. I would. Because I could only understand what you don't understand if you ask me something. Right. So I'm going to end this video here. I love you all. Goodbye.